Right. Good morning, boys. Continue natin yung ating discussion on inequalities. Okay? At this point, dapat napag-aralan nyo na yung pre-lecture PowerPoint on the properties of inequalities. Okay? So, let's dig deep with this presentation today. But before that, recap lang tayo ng ating inaral last week, particularly on graphing. Now, let's answer some of these exercises. Ito, sige nga, sa notebook, graph. A is less than or equal to -6. Again, pause muna ang video, sagot ka muna, and then hit play when you're done. Okay, may sagot ka na dapat. Remember, if it's less than or equal, we expect a ray pointing to the left direction. No? It's less than -6. Where's -6? It's right here. No? And also because it's less than or equal, no? Note how -6 itself is included here in our graph. So that should look like a shaded or solid circle. And then you have your ray pointing to the left. Pangit ng graph ko, but that's how it should look. Okay? Next. Pause muna and then hit play when you have an answer. Okay. So dito, let's use a thicker marker here. There you go. B is greater than -2. Okay? So si -2, I'll look for -2 already on my number line. Ito siya, si -2. And since B is greater than -2, I should be expecting my ray to point to this direction. No? But -2 itself, is it included? No, hindi, no? Kasi greater than -2. So our circle, our dot here, stays as is. No? A hollow circle. Hindi natin siya shadean kasi hindi kasama si -2. Okay? Next. Now, again, ang pagbasa dito, boys, mula sa gitna, hindi mula sa -5. Ang pagbasa dito sa ganitong inequality ay from the middle, look at this, y is greater than -5 and less than or equal to 10. That's how we read it. Okay? Now, another thing, we do not write it like this, no? Although technically this makes sense, but we do not write it like this. Look, I will flip the inequality to its side. Y is greater than -5 but less than or equal to 10. Again, technically, this is equivalent to this first one. Technically, ganyan, ano? But we do not write our inequalities like this. We don't, by convention. Bakit? Even if you look at the order of the real numbers that you see in this inequality, you see the 10 here, somewhere to the left of the inequality, and the -5 here, somewhere to the right of the inequality. I mean, even the number line that we examine does not behave this way. Diba? When you move from left to right on the number line, the numbers increase. So, kumbaga, if you have two different quantities here, say 10 and -5, I should expect the smaller one to be on the left and the larger one to be on the right. Diba? Kasi ganun din naman ang behavior ng real numbers sa number line. No? Again, although technically this is not wrong, it's not a conventional way of writing our inequalities. Ito nasa ibabaw. No? Nasa kaliwa yung mas maliit at nasa kanan yung mas malaki. Kaya kung mapapansin niyo, for these kinds of compound statements, the symbols are always, itong inequality symbols are always sort of pointing, if this is what I refer to as the point, pointing to the left. No, kasi minimimic lang natin yung behavior ng real numbers on the number line. Okay? So again, this is read as y is greater than -5 and less than or equal to 10. Okay? So pause muna, graph. Right. May graph ka na dapat. So we have here y we know should be greater than -5. Where's -5? Right here. Is -5 included? Hindi. Greater than siya eh. So dapat, since it's greater than -5, I should expect my ray to point to this direction. Pero, teka, alam natin compound statement to eh. It should also be, y should also be less than or equal to 10. Asan ang 10? Nandito si 10. Is 10 included? Yes. Included yan. and everything else that is less than that. So, papunta rito. No? Now, remember, this is a compound statement. Even how you read it. Look, y is greater than negative 5 and I'll highlight that conjunction, and less than or equal to negative 10. So, the numbers that you can plug in for y must satisfy both conditions. It should be greater than negative 5 and at the same time less than or equal to negative 10. Kasi look at this, ano? By itself, this portion alone should look like, diba? Let's break apart this inequality. Y is greater than negative 5 and y is less than or equal to 10. Now, had it been the first inequality only, ano? Look, your graph should look like a solid dot on 5 and an arrow pointing, a ray pointing to the right. Parang ganyan, no? And how about the other one? Had it been just y is less than or equal to 10, it would have been like this, no? Solid dot on 10 and a ray pointing to the left. Sorry, my bad. On the first graph, the first graph is supposed to have an endpoint that is a hollow pala. Hollow circle. There you go. Kasi ito yan eh. Diba? Now look at this. Supposedly, yun yung dalawang graph mo. Had they been simpler versions of that compound statements. But remember, because this is an and statement, both conditions have to be met. The values you're talking about should be both greater than negative 5 and less than or equal to 10. So if you look at some of the points here, say negative 7. Is negative 7 a possible candidate for y? Now, it's a possible candidate for y if we're only talking about the second inequality here, the second statement here, that y is less than or equal to 10. But remember, our compound statement is a compound statement that is an and statement. So it also has to be greater than negative 5. But negative 7 is not greater than negative 5. So hindi siya kasama. At the same time, halimbawa may 11 dito. 11. Pwede ba si 11? No, 11 satisfies this first part. It's greater than negative 5. But it's not less than or equal to 10. Kaya hindi rin kasama itong negative 11. And that is why our graph is sort of the, if you remember your set theory from the first term, the intersection of these two graphs, pink and blue. Oh? So, ang magiging itsura ng ating final graph would be a hollow circle at 5, a solid dot at 10, and a line segment connecting the two. Tama? Yan dapat ang itsura niyan. Again, our final answer here should be hollow here, solid there, gamit tayo ng makapal dito, and the line segment in between. There you go. Yan ang tamang graph ng ating inequality. Correct? Last. C is greater than 6 and less than 9. Pause muna, then graph. Okay, may graph na kayo dapat. Our answer here should be, well, taking off from the previous example, a hollow circle at 6, hollow circle at 9, and a line segment. Oops, that's too thick. Sorry. Line segment in between. You get the picture. No? Brain natin yan. Dito lang. Yon. Okay, yan dapat ang graph niyan. Right? Very, very easy. Ano pa ba? Wala na yan. Last na yan. Ay, ito pa. May isa pa. Last. Totoo na ito last. X is greater than negative 8 and less than or equal to 0. Okay? Pause muna ulit, then hit play when you're done. Right. Let's graph this. Do we include negative 8? No, we don't. No. It's a hollow circle there. Do we include 0? Yes. Sama si 0. Solid yan. And the line segment in between. Right there. That's your graph. Okay? Super, super simple. Right. Now, again, in the PowerPoint pre-lecture that was assigned to you over the weekend, that already contained the properties of inequality. If you might have noticed, several of them resemble properties of equality. No? So, meron lang tayong ilang properties na uniquely for inequalities. No? Kumbaga, iba yung ginagawa natin. And you should have discovered that already from the PowerPoint. Now, again, yung mga basic concepts like graphing, compound and simple statements, na-cover na natin the previous discussion. And now, as we transition to solving also inequalities, no? Much like equations, we solve them. We can also solve inequalities. And much like equations, meron din tayong mga properties na ginagamit. Okay? Like this one, TPI, the transitive property of inequality. Or roughly put, it's basically this, no? Let's say you have x, y, and z. Let's say they are three unique real numbers. Let's say also that x is less than y and y is less than z. That would only tell me that x is less than z. No? Kumbaga, if we use the real numbers here, look, I know that 2 is less than 5. Tama? So, if 2 is less than 5, and let's use the 5. 5 is less than something else. Let's say 11. Yeah? So, if 2 is less than 5 and 5 is less than 11, obviously, I see now that I can compare, because my two inequalities have the 5 in common, I can compare the 2 and the 11. Because 2 is smaller than 5 and 5 is smaller than 11, then I can conclude that, of course, 2 is less than 11. No? So, for more general kinds of numbers, kumbaga, we use these. If x is less than y and y is less than z, then whatever they are, I am sure that x must be less than z. No? Medyo madali na maintindihin yun. Very simple. No? So, parang ganito. Yung ginawa natin, ano? 12 is less than 15, 15 is less than 8, therefore I can conclude that 12 is in fact less than 18. Although, hindi ko na kailangan ng TPI to compare them because I know that 12 is less than 18. But what if they now start involving variable expressions, no? Like this. If x plus 7 is greater than 1 and 1 is greater than x plus 2, ano ang conclusion na magagawa natin dito? Ulit, ano? Si x plus 7 mas malaki sa 1. Pero si 1 mas malaki sa x plus 2. So again, anong conclusion na magagawa natin dito, boys? Okay. Pause muna, then try to write an inequality. Okay? Nag-play ka na dapat, meron ka ng sagot. Look, if x plus 7 is greater than 1 and 1 is greater than x plus 2, then dapat itong x plus 7 mas malaki sa x plus 2. In inequality form, that should be x plus 7 is greater than x plus 2. No, that is of course applying our TPI, transitive property of inequality. Okay? Next. Parang ganito. If z plus 3 is less than or equal to w, and w is less or equal to 2 plus x, then, okay, pause muna, sulat muna ng inequality, hit play when you're done. Right. Meron ka na dapat inequality. Ang inequality mo dapat, ang itsura niya ay z plus 3 mas maliit or equal sa w. Si w naman mas maliit or equal sa 2 plus x. Therefore, I conclude that z plus 3 must be less than or equal to 2 plus x. Tama? Yun yung common nila sa w. Okay? Right. How about API? No, the addition property of inequality. Now, remember, sa equality meron tayo APE. Dito pa ang API. Kaya kaiba ang API na ito, no? Now, let's examine an inequality here. 11 is greater than 8, which is a true statement. 11 is, in fact, greater than 8. Now, let's try and complete this table, no? Add, what if, for this particular case, given 8 is greater than 11, what if we add 2 daw, ito, to both sides of the inequality? If we add 2 to both sides, I add 2 to 11, and I add 2 to 8, will the inequality still hold? Tama pa rin kaya? 11 plus 2 is 13. 8 plus 2 is 10. So is it true that 13 is greater than 10? Yes, correct. Tama. No? What if we add 6 daw to both sides? Sige, try natin. 11 plus 6, 8 plus 6. Will the inequality hold? Left side becomes 17, right becomes 14. So 17 is still, correct, greater than 14. But what if we add a negative number? Say negative 3. Let's see. 11 plus negative 3. 8 plus negative 3. Will the inequality still hold? 11 plus negative 3 is 8. 8 plus negative 3 is 5. And in fact, 8 is still greater than 5. Correct? No? Tama. So, what do we notice here? No? We are allowed still to add something to both sides of the inequality. And the truth of our inequality is not altered. True pa rin siya. No? So, pwede tayo mag-add ng positive, pwede nga rin negative. Wala lang nangyayari. No problem. We're allowed to do that. The inequality still holds to be true. Much like what we did for equations. So, in fact, when we talk about the API, simply put, we are allowed to add or subtract the same quantity to both sides of the inequality without affecting its truth. So, basically, ang API natin acts the same way as APE, kumbaga. Pwede ka mag-add ng kahit ano as long as you do it to both sides of the equation. But for inequalities, ganun din pala. I can add the same thing, subtract the same thing from both sides of my inequality, and it will be fine. I-demonstrate natin. So that's API. Now, the only difference is, well, this is an inequality we're dealing with, but we are allowed to basically apply the same principle. Okay? Nice. So, halimbawa, gamitin natin ito. What if 10, tapos sabi dito, 10 is greater than 3? Sure, we know that. Then, 12 is greater than what? If we stem from this. Look, from 10 to 12, didn't we add 2? We added 2, diba? So, kumbaga, if we follow this inequality, I'd put 5 there. 12 is greater than 5. If we used our API. Ito, if A plus B is greater than C, then blank is greater than C plus 7. Pause muna and then hit play if you have an answer. Right, may sagot ka na dapat. Paano ba nagbago from the first inequality to the second? Look, si C sa right side ng inequality, diba? Naging C plus 7. So it seemed like I added 7 to both sides. Diba? And that's allowed by API. So, the left side should be A plus B plus 7. Diba? Napakadali. How about this? If 6x plus 4y is less than or equal to 7x minus 3y, then 4y is less or equal to blank. Pause muna, hit play when you have an answer. Right. Pinlay mo na, dapat may sagot na. What happened here? Look at the left side of the inequality in the first line. 6x plus 4y. Now look at the left side on the next line. It's just 4y. Sir, what happened? Parang nawala yung ating 6x. Term siya eh. Paano nga nawawala ulit yung terms? Remember? So, inequalities. Diba? We're adding the opposite of that term to both sides of the equation. So, baka ganun din, for API, the application of API. So, what we did here, seemingly, was we added negative 6x, to both sides. Dapat both, nasasabi ni API, to both sides of the inequality. Kaya nawala ito dun sa isang side. So, what will happen to the right? But 7x plus negative 6x minus 3y. Ang pwede na rin combine dito is the 7x and the negative 6x. That gives me x minus 3y. Tama? Nice. Okay? How about for MPI? The multiplication property. Again, nakita nyo na ito dapat sa PowerPoint. And you should have already observed something. Tulad nito, kanina, we started with an inequality. Let's do the same here. We have 6 is greater than 4. Okay? So what if we multiply 2 to both sides of the inequality? So you have 6 times 2. Is it still true it's greater than 4 times 2? 6 times 2 is 12. 4 times 2 is 8. Yes, tama pa rin. Correct. How about for 6? Multiply 6 to both sides. You have 6 times 6. Is it still true it's greater than 4 times 6? 36 on the left, 24 on the right, true pa din. Greater pa rin siya. Correct? How about multiplying by 3? You have 6 times 3. Is it greater than 4 times 3? Of course, 18 is still greater than 12. Tama. So, no problem. Gumagana pala siya kahit ano i-multiply ko to both sides of the inequality. Tama. Kahit ano, pwede ko i-multiply. And the inequality would still be true. Let's investigate further. Tignan natin ito. What if this time around, meron pala akong ganun. This time around, let's multiply negative numbers. Pareho pa rin kaya makukuha natin sagot dyan. Multiply negative 2. We have 6 is greater than 4. A true inequality. But what if I multiply negative 2 to both sides of my inequality? Would it still hold true? 6 times negative 2 on the left becomes a negative 12. Negative 2 times 4 is a negative 8. Is it still true that negative 12 is greater than negative 8? Hindi na. Mali na. Naku po. O, iba na to. Mali na. Tingnan natin kung mali pa rin. Let's multiply negative 6. 6 times negative 6, is it greater than 4 times negative 6? Left side is minus 36. Right side is minus 24. Tama pa rin ba ang inequality ko? Again, mali na. So I can assume, I can imagine, no, that the third one will also be incorrect. 6 times negative 3 and 4 times negative 3. Magkakamali na rin yata ito. Negative 18 is not greater than negative 12, di ba? Again, this is an incorrect statement. Paano sila magiging tama? Imagine, nag-multiply ka ng negative number, tapos nagkakamali na yung inequality mo. Paano siya ito tama? Tama sana siya. Try to imagine this. Tama sana ang mga resulting inequalities kung baliktad yung sign. Baliktad. No? That would have been correct. If I multiply the negative number, tapos binaliktad ko yung sign, that would have been correct. Does that make sense? It should. Yan yung pagkakaiba ng MPI sa MPE. Si MPI, you don't just multiply any number sort of without consequence to your inequality. For positive numbers, we saw from the previous slide na okay lang. If you multiply both sides of your inequality by a positive number, remember this, by a positive number, no problem. No, nothing really changes. The truth of the inequality is still the same. It's still true. However, if we instead multiply by a negative number, nakita natin na kung gusto natin na true pa din yung resulting inequality, we sort of flip our symbol para maging true pa rin siya. Diba? Binabaliktad natin yung symbol. So that precisely is how different MPI is from MPE. No? Depende sa multiplier mo yung iyong magiging resulting inequality. Again, the idea is if your inequality is multiplied by something, both sides of the inequality by something, you have to examine first what that something is. If it's a positive number, no problem. No, hindi gagalaw yung inequality symbol mo. It's still the same. Much like this example, no? Look at this. If z, a multiplier, is greater than 0, meaning z is positive. Pag minultiply ko daw yon sa inequality na x is less than y, ganun pa rin yung symbol, xz is less than yz. Granting that your multiplier to both sides of the inequality is positive. But if it were negative, like the second case here, notice, ang symbol ko bumabaliktad. O, diba? Yun yung pagkakaiba ng MPI sa MPE. Whenever you multiply by a negative number to both sides of the equation, multiply or divide, negative numbers, you will flip the symbol. No? Babaliktad rin yung symbol ng iyong inequality. Okay? Now, let's see that in action. Again, 2 is greater than 1, then 10. If we follow this previous line of thought, I guess we multiplied both sides by 5. Positive 5, So 2 times 5 naging 10. So dapat, I would assume, I can put the 5 there. No problem. Look, hindi nagbago kung saan nakaturo yung aking symbol. No problem. Siya pa din yun. How about this? 4A is greater than B. Then, 24A is greater than blank. Again, pause muna. Write an answer and then hit play when you're done. Right. Ito, 4A. Paano siya maging 24A? By multiplication, of course, ang idea natin. What we did was we multiplied by 6. So we need to also do that to the other side, sabi ni MPI. And since it's a positive number, no problem. Hindi magbabago yung symbol ko. O, ganun pa din. So, 6B dapat. No? How about this? If negative 4A is greater than 8B, then A is blah, 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 blah. Okay? Pause muna. Hit play when you're done. Right. Kung pinlay mo na tignan, from negative 4A, naging A. Uy, in-isolate yung A. Pero ang negative 4 ay coefficient. Naku, mukhang nag-multiply ako ng something or nag-divide ng something. In fact, correct. I could have imagined that I multiplied both sides of the inequality by negative 1/4. No, the multiplicative inverse of 4. But remember, when you do that, you have to do that also to the other side. Negative 1/4 na multiplier ka din. But, since our multiplier, look at this, is a negative number, iba usapan na yan. First off, what is 8b times negative 1/4? That's supposed to be negative 2b, di ba? But now, again, no, balik tayo. Ang multiplier mo, negative number to both sides. So, greater than pa rin ba ang symbol mo? Hindi na. Babaliktad na yan papunta dito. So, ang final answer ko ay A is less than negative 2b. Okay? Ganun ang epekto, boys, ha, ng MPI if you're multiplying a negative number. Again, like this. If 3x plus 2 is less than or equal to x plus 3, then negative 15x minus 10, ... Pause muna, hit play when you're done. Right. What happened? Look, from a 3x plus 2, I see a negative 15x minus 10. Paano kaya nangyari yun? Did we multiply something? Yes, mukhang nag-multiply tayo. Ano kaya multiply natin to get from 3x plus 2 to become negative 15x minus 10? Right. Ang multiply natin ay negative 5. So, dapat mag-multiply din ako ng negative 5 dito. Sabi ng MPI. Diba? O, ano mangyayari sa right side muna pag nag-multiply ka ng negative 5? Magdi-DPMA ka pa dyan. Remember, that's supposed to be a minus 5x minus 15. Now, again, remember, negative 5 ang multiplier ko to both sides. It's a negative number. What happens to my symbol here? Mag-flip yan to the other direction. Okay? From a less than or equal, magiging greater than or equal yan. Right? Ganyan na nangyayari, boys, ha? Kapag negative ang pinang-multiply or pinang-divide mo, nag-flip yung iyong inequality symbol. Okay? Finally, if negative 1/2 y is less than or equal to 3x plus 1, then y ... Pause muna, hit play when you're done. Right. So, tignan, from a negative 1/2 y, uy, naging y. What happened here? We must have multiplied it by something. I mean, both sides of the equality. We should have multiplied by something. Sabi nga ni MPI. But what is that? How do we isolate the y from a negative 1/2 y? Tama. Nag-multiply tayo dyan ng kanyang multiplicative inverse. Multiplicative inverse ni negative 1/2, which is negative 2. Diba? So, dapat nag-multiply ka rin dito ng negative 2. Right side should become what? DPMA ka dyan. Minus 6x minus 2. Yeah? But again, negative number ang aking multiplier. So, our symbol flips. Yeah? Final answer ko, y is greater or equal to negative 6x minus 2. Diba? Very, very, very simple. Okay? Now, for your practice, pag-aralan, sagutan, basic level, 5D, number 1, on page 130 of your ebook, yung New Syllabus Mathematics textbook, ebook nyo yan, di ba? So, sagutan yan, may answer key naman sa likod. For your practice lang yan. Nothing to turn in for that set of items. Okay? But what you need to submit is FA9A before 6 p.m. today. Okay? If you have questions, again, nasa call naman ako. Or you can email me your questions as well. Okay? Thank you.